months. But the way he's come on, then the England call up and that. So, yeah, he's a top draw, prime leader.
Who's your captain?
Grealish.
Is he?
Yeah, of course. He's a Villa boy now. He's a Brummy lad. He's got to be. He brings glamour to our team.
No, well,
We live here, Will.
no, bear with me. I'll be shooting in a second.
Villa. Doing all right, to be fair, this season. I'm surprised.
We are. We are.
Not surprised, to be fair.
Well, there's a lot of talk because we signed so many players and that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them were loanees, weren't they? A couple of loanees from last year.
We had to. We were, we didn't have a team at all. So it'll take time, though. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to take time to gel. It's still gelling at the moment, but they're getting better, much better.
I like the manager.
Yeah, he's a good manager.
I like him a lot.
Good owners now. Owners with loads of money.
I'll be Forest next weekend. That's going to be a fucking big one.
Mm.
Yeah,
we're just going to be crap.
What's that?
The apprentice at work has never wanted to go.
Oh, it's away. Fuck that. It's a shithole.
It's right by my house.
Yeah, honestly, it's horrible. You're penned in. You got them above you, and then them to the side, and them to the other side. You're just in this little.
They all spit on you, don't they?
Oh, it's horrible.
And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Boxing Talk podcast, episode 11. So 7 days and a matchroom card later, I return with a full house and 4 fellas to talk boxing. So let's say hello. Harry, you all right, mate?
I'm back. Apologies for last week, but I'm here.
Apologies not accepted. Mr. Jay Lynch, you all right, mate?
Golden.
Good man. And Mr. Phil, you okay, bud?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Ready to talk about Josh Taylor.
Cool. So I think we'll start from the top to the bottom this week and start with the main event. Josh Taylor Prograis, we were there. So I think only fair to kick it off with us, Mr. Campbell. Do you want to give some thoughts and your scorecard and how you had it, mate?
Yeah, well, like Will said, we were actually at the O2 to watch it. And it was amazing. Really enjoyed it. We had really good seats. And we were treated to a really, really good fight. Number 1 and number 2 in the division. And it was a genuine 50-50 fight as well. And I was nervous for it, because we just didn't know what was going to happen. And me and you were both, watching it transfixed. And yeah, to start with, I think we'll all agree, really. First couple of rounds, Prograis coming in. He's landing with that jab. He's keeping Taylor at range as best he can, and his head movement as well, which kept him in the whole fight. He was looking good, and like I was saying to you, Will, the way that Taylor was going to win that fight was to get inside, was to use his size on him, grind him down, and work him on the body. And then for about 3 to 6 or something like that, he was able to do that. And yeah, it was. And one thing as well, because there was a lot of body work and things like that, you really saw how good Josh Taylor was. He was able to adjust to Prograis. He worked him out. He knew what he had to do. He knew that he had to get on the inside. And some of the body shots he was landing as well, like it might not have been as clear watching it, but you knew he was getting that work in. And so was Prograis, to be fair. But I think as the fight wore on, and me and you both said this, Prograis kind of ran out of ideas a little bit. When it was on the inside, and this is a point that you made when we were there, Will, all Prograis had, he was whipping this left in, but he had no short, sharp punches. There was no little hooks and things like that Taylor was throwing him. And that's where Taylor started to sort of, build up on the scorecard and things like that. And it wasn't until the latter part of the fight where, Prograis did get himself back into it. One of the judges gave it a draw. A lot of people gave it 7-5. Personally, watching it, I didn't really score it. I know you were, and we were scoring rounds, but I was just I felt like I was involved in the fight, watching it, and just, really, I was just engrossed by it. I think being there live kind of helps that. Yeah. And on eye test, and yeah, Josh Taylor did win the fight. I thought the scorecards were fair as well. I can see why people would give it a draw. think it's a little generous, but I can see it. I think 7-5, the 8-4, it was that sort of scoring range. But I thought both people afterwards, Taylor and especially Prograis as well. Prograis saying, "Yeah, the better man won on the night. I'll come back." I like that. He knew he'd been beat, but he accepted that, and he wants to fight again. He'll come again as well, Prograis. But I think Taylor showed how good he was. If there was any doubt about his talent and his boxing ability and his boxing brain, he was, like I said, he was able to adjust. He was able to take the fight to Prograis. Because if it had stayed at range all fight, he'd have struggled. Because Prograis' head movement was incredible. Yeah. That's what kept him in the fight. There was very few straight shots that Taylor landed on Prograis. It was all to the body and like short, sharp hooks to the face and things like that. Nothing from range. So he was able to adjust. He overcame Prograis, and fair plays, unified 140 champion. But yeah, being there was great, and yeah, like I said, privileged to watch. Really enjoyed it.
Mr. J Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same. I think that Prograis is the type of fighter that likes to fight at his own pace. Do you know what I mean? He likes to dictate the pace, and he's not. I said last week he's economical with his punches, but he makes them count. His head movement is exceptional, and he is an exceptional boxer. But I think that the game plan that Taylor had was spot on to not give him time, to get in close, to rush him, to make him dictate the pace himself. So he can't fight like Prograis couldn't fight his fight, and that's exactly what he did. I think the early rounds. I mean, I've seen some people that are absolutely outraged by the result. Yeah. For me, I had Taylor by 2. I think the last. I think Prograis was good for the opening 6, and then he started to tire a bit, and as Phil said, like run out of ideas. But he did adapt better than I thought he would. And then when it came into I think it was the 11th and the 12th, he just seemed to come out in the 11th like super like rejuvenated again. Do you know? He's just like he kind of shook himself down and came out and really went to war because he knew it was close and he knew that he needed those rounds. But I don't think it was enough for him to win. I mean, one of the scorecards were really long, wasn't it? And that was just ridiculous. I don't even know where he's getting that score.
Was it like 117, 112? Or
yeah, exactly. That? Which is just
what's that? 9-3.
It's
9-3 with a couple of 10-all rounds. I struggled to work it out, that one.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous scorecard. So yeah, I mean, all power to him. Fully deserved. I think I said last week that he'd do it, and I was right. Put me on the scoreboard.
We'll talk scoreboard later. I'll give credit. We'll talk scoreboard later. Mr. Harry, did you watch it as well, mate?
Yeah, I've watched it. You can't. I don't think you could put anyone. You could let anyone in the world watch that fight, and if they'd never watched a boxing fight in their life, or they've watched a million boxing fights, they would love it. It was just one of them ones that anyone could enjoy that fight, and I thought it was brilliant. It shows that different aspect of watching on the TV to watching it live. I watched it on the telly, and you saw that little bit in between rounds where Taylor was gassed. You could see he was drained and he was breathing so heavy, and he got up every round, bit down on his gum shield, and just gave it his all. So it shows the sign of a true champion, in my opinion, and I was very, very, very impressed by him.
Did you score the fight at all, or did you have your own scorecard at the end?
I did. I wasn't scoring it, but off the top of my head, I had it as a draw as it finished. If I was to watch it again, you never know. There was one round which the Sky commentators, I think it was 7, might have been 6, where the Sky commentators are going on and on. Oh, Taylor's doing amazing. But I was actually thinking Prograis was doing the better work. So that was probably the one that I scored differently. But yeah, it was one I couldn't see Prograis win, but a draw or Taylor, I would have been happy with.
It was interesting to say there, Harry, that you thought, because this is something that we obviously watching it from the crowd, and I didn't think that Taylor looked particularly gassed at any point, but
that's what was so impressive. Yeah,
where from a distance, so obviously you're watching it. Did he look tired when
in between the rounds? And you could see he was like really, really, really. Well, obviously, in a boxer's world, a minute break in the interval is like us having 8 minutes. You know what I mean? So he obviously recovers in that natural aspect anyway. But I just think it was just I think he knew. You know.
I suppose there's maybe a difference between being gassed and it being just a really hard fight. Because
definitely, yeah,
of course. I think we'd all agree, won't we, that like, especially in the middle rounds, regardless of if he looked gassed, his output was phenomenal.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The middle round, wasn't it? It was relentless on Prograis, kind of 5 to 9, really.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and with some damage to his eye. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know,
I was going to say for Jane Harry then, because I'm quite curious how it took on TV, because obviously little details like that we missed. I personally didn't pick up on Taylor's eye
till the end.
About 10, really, was it, Phil? Where we're like, oh gosh.
Yeah, that's when you could sort of see his eye.
Yeah, and I saw that
it was a great
wrecked after 3. I was like, to fill after 3 rounds, how ready, you know, his lats is, like some body shots gone in there. So how bad was Taylor's eye, really? Like, from what round was it an issue?
To be fair, I only saw it. I only really picked it up late, to be honest with you, as well. I think it was just suddenly like started to really, really puff up. And I think Shane McGuigan mentioned that it was a late thing. Do you know what I mean? And he came into like the last, 2-3 rounds saying he couldn't see out of his eye. Do you know what I mean? But Shane McGuigan telling him, well, you've got to put it. You've got to put it on him. Do you know what I mean? These rounds sort of count. So it may have been like he got caught, and then just within the space of, like, as I said, the last 2, 3, 4 rounds, it started to really swell up and started to come out.
Yeah,
came on quick, definitely.
I mean, going into the fight, I said to Phil, a big thing I wanted to analyse, because it was our first proper boxing event, wasn't it, Phil? I wanted to kind of see how. So I made a conscious effort to score it in the crowd. And I wanted to kind of compare that. Like I told Phil my score every round, to make sure it was legit. And then I wanted to compare that with kind of the general populace after the fight, from people who watched it at home, what Sky had. And I found I had it 7-5. I had Taylor 6-4 after 10. I had him winning the 11th and Prograis winning the 12th. And I finished 7-5. And it just kind of made me realise, when you have these really bad robberies, I don't know how judges do it, because obviously our view is not as good as the judges where we were. We had good seats, but we're still not ringside. And I find it shocking if a judge is ever more than 1 or 2 rounds away from what everyone else has, really. So I thought that was interesting. I thought the right decision was definitely made, though. I mean, from what I've seen, everyone's got a draw or Taylor nicking it. So I think that tells you that the right decision was given. And obviously Prograis, being as humble as he was in his post-fight interviews, said it all. He was happy to admit it weren't his night and it. So that was good to see. So just a bit more on a analysis then, after we've all given our initial takes there. What do we think Prograis needed to do to win the fight? And if there was a rematch, how would you see it going? Would Prograis adjust, or does Taylor have his number? Does anyone want to give any thoughts on that?
I think with that, you've got a case of Taylor was only going to win that fight one way. He's the bigger guy. Like we said, when we saw him, we picked up on the fact that he was so much bigger than Pro. He was just a bigger bloke. The fact that he can get down to 140 and as comfortably as he can, as well as, is quite incredible, to be honest, really, because he will move up. But Taylor was always going to win that by using his size, putting it on him, and dropping in those body shots, and really, like he demonstrated, really putting him on him, not giving him any space, cutting off the ring, not giving Prograis any room to maneuver. And credit to Prograis for making it as close as he did. But Prograis, especially in the first round, you could say in the first 3, and especially in the end of the fight as well, when he did have that room to maneuver, when he was able to throw shots, when it was at range, because he was landing that jab far better than Taylor was.
Yeah,
that's when he looked good. And like you said, I think it was after the first or second round, it might have been the first round. Taylor's lats were just red. He'd been peppered. And he was able to land those because he was landing them not close in from range. And I agree with Jay's point, because we watched a couple of his fights on Sky in the Boxing Super Series in the run-up. He likes to fight at his own pace, and he likes to fight his own style, and he likes to make people come to him and dictate to how he fights. And Taylor just didn't let him do that. So he needs to somehow, if there were to be a rematch, fight in a way that make Taylor stay at range. But because Taylor's the bigger guy, and because Taylor's beat him already once, and he knows how to beat him as well, Prograis doesn't know how to beat Taylor. So that'll be a big thing in the rematch. I'm not sure how Prograis would be able to keep him at range for 12 rounds. Because again, it's not going to be a knockout. We saw they both landed clean shots. No one's eating canvas in that rematch. But yeah, unless Prograis was incredibly quicker, a little bit more skillful, I'm struggling to see if that fight's at close range in the rematch. I can't see how Taylor loses, really, because he showed how good he was close in. He was bigger, he's stronger. Really put it on Prograis. So Prograis would need to keep it at range, come in and out. But I'd struggle to see him doing that over 12 rounds, because Taylor's obviously a good fighter as well. He wouldn't let that happen. He would adjust and obviously come back with something if Prograis was to do that. So I think Taylor does have his number. I think it'd be a close fight again. I could be wrong, but I think Taylor's got his number in that regard.
Such a question, isn't it? Because I came out of the fight, I still do. Like, I still, in my head, think Prograis the better boxer, the more skillful boxer. But Taylor won.
Taylor did win, yeah. Taylor.
That's the bottom tail of it, isn't it? And maybe I'm just more attracted to how stylish Prograis looks, as opposed to Taylor, where he's probably not the better boxer. I don't know. It's a hard one, but if there was a rematch, I'd have to pick Taylor now. Even though I've just got it in my head that Prograis is the more skillful out of the two. Well, I think I was saying to you, Phil, on the night, like you've all said, actually, in terms of Prograis keeping it at the pace he likes, I just feel like he's got go-to tactics that he likes doing. I mean, when Taylor was on the inside, he didn't adjust it. He didn't fight back on the inside or get it back on his jab. And I feel his left hand is very long.
I'm saying this, yeah.
He was landing it, but I'm wondering if that's because of his athleticism. Because I feel it's so far away, it's kept so low, kind of down his hip. There's just no kind of short 1-2 when the fight's on the inside. And I thought, is that a big kind of flaw in his game, or is that just his style that's what works for him? Be interested on Jay's take on that, really. Do you feel his left hand's kind of hard to land, and he lands it because he's so quick?
Yeah. He has to pull it up, and he has to adjust quickly. But that's just his style, We've seen other fighters with that sort of style. David Hay being one. Kind of keeps it low, but you're almost pulling the punch up. Do you know what I mean? As far as I think it's just this is a styles thing, and I just don't think Prograis has the style to beat Taylor, and it's as simple as that. And I think he could, I think Taylor beat him 9 times out of 10, just purely stylistically, size wise, because he'd have to adjust his whole game to beat Taylor, and that's the thing. It's not saying he's a bad fighter. It's just the way he fights. It's just a style thing. And I just personally think with his style against a bigger man like Taylor and a rangier man, and wanting to fight at his own pace, it's like, it's going to be very difficult for him. So if anyone goes to fight him again, they know exactly what they need to do. They need to rush him. They need to put pressure on him. They need to, because then he has to put that extra work in. So then he has to rely more on stamina. Whereas if you've watched his previous fights, like against Reddick, for instance, he kind of can just sit off and just pop where he wants, move where he wants, step back, pop, step back, but do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it is a style thing, and it's effective. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes it's kind of like Chris Eubank Jr. early on used to do that a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like his dad used to do it. Very economical with punches. But then you can realise that sometimes he's not going to always win you a fight. Do you know what I mean? Because some judges will take on pressure and take on the amount of punches you're throwing. Do you know what I mean? So that could, sometimes lose you a couple of fights purely because of your style. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're knocking people out.
Definitely, yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. I think I've come out thinking Prograis is the more skillful, but like you said, I think Styles, Josh Taylor can handle Prograis. I think another thought as well, thinking back, is Taylor's definitely bigger, and he looked bigger, didn't he, Phil? He looked a lot bigger in there. And I think with Prograis kind of enforcing his pace on other boxers, that's because his power's good. I think if he hits you, you know about it. Taylor even said himself. But I think because Taylor was that bit bigger and that bit tougher, he could take the power and force his pace where other boxers aren't able to do that, particularly Flanagan, I believe.
But that's not taking anything away from Taylor in the sense that he's very, very, very good. Very good. And he proved that he is very good. I've always thought he was good.
I remember saying last week, I said I think a lot of this fight will be about who adjusts. Yeah. And that's a massive part of boxing, and Taylor adjusted for me. Because Prograis was winning the first half of that fight. Taylor, whether it was, I don't know what his corner advice was, I guess you two will know, but he adjusted, he made the fight faster, he made it closer, he made it nastier, and that's what ultimately won in the middle rounds.
Well, Prograis could win those early rounds, but he was having to do a lot more work than he's used to. And that kind of showed mid-rounds when he started to slow down a little bit, do you know what I mean? And the problem is when you're a type of fighter like Prograis, if you slow down, run out of gas, you're going to get hit a lot more because your reactions, he relies so much on reactions and head movement. Do you know what I mean? Because he keeps, if you keep your hand low in a guard, that means your head movement's got to be exceptional and you've got to be switched on constantly for 12 rounds. Then if you're using too much energy, obviously that's going to slow that head movement down and that footwork down. So, yeah, he did the right thing, to be honest.
Harry, do you have any quick thoughts on how?
Yeah, just the fact that I think the outcome's the same inevitably. I think purely because that style that Prograis holds. I think when you come up against like one of them, 1-2 in the division, they're not going to let you dictate what you're going to do. Do you know what I mean? Because they know your style. They know, like Shane McGuigan's a fantastic coach, and he's obviously been saying since the second they signed that contract, don't let him play at his own game because he, if Prograis did, he would have picked him apart like he has his other opponents because they've given him that respect, and he's earned that respect in one way. But Taylor's, an elite level boxer, so he's not going to let him have that respect. So yeah, I think the rematch goes the same way, to be honest.
Fair enough. Right then, moving on I think we'll quickly gloss over this fight because it was trash before we talk about a proper fight. Get it out of the way. Lawrence Okoli.
Didn't watch it.
Glorious case of Lawrence Okoli. You lucky you, Harry, as well.
Yeah, he's trash. Let's put it one way.
Right. So it was early on in the night. I think off memory, it was about 7:30. It was one of the first fights on the card. And
was that to Conor Benn?
That was it. Second fight then, really. At least for people in the crowd kind of watching the main event. I was looking forward to it because I knew how tough his opponent was. And he was well built, and I thought he'd take it to the inside. And in hindsight, I realised how it couldn't have been any worse, really, stylistically. But I just wanted to slate him, to be honest. And I don't like doing that, so I like to give credit. But I have no interest in watching him again. I thought it was awful to watch. I realised, again, watching it live, you're there and you've got no choice. Obviously, when you're at home and you pay your pay-per-view, you can talk to your mates, go grab a drink, you can potter about in the house and whatnot. And obviously being stuck in my tight little cramped seat with all these fellow Londoners behind me shouting Lawrence and whatnot, I was forced to watch this European title fight and what state it was. I don't even know what to make of it. I'm going to go to one of you because I've got no thought. I did think the stoppage was a load of rubbish. I was very frustrated at that. And I actually booed Lawrence and the decision at the end, which again isn't like me. I kind of sit quietly in my chair. But I was just disgusted that a guy got wobbled, and it seemed to me that they just wanted to end it because it was an awful fight and to make Lawrence look good. That's the impression I got. Because he wobbled, he weren't on the floor. He looked to me like he had his senses, or at least looked like he had a bit more to give before the stoppage. and the ref waved it after a horrible kind of holding first. So, Phil and Jay, I guess, if you two watch the fight, thoughts?
It was awful. It was really, really awful
I was angry
to watch. And I said on my video, my post-fight video, that he's been called out for this before. This is not the first time we've seen a shit fight from Lawrence Okoli. Now, I don't think Lawrence Okoli's shit. I don't think he's shit. I just think that there's two aspects of this. There's one, his size, that kind of weight. He kind of he towers above everyone. And so there's only way a fighter can really fight him is by coming in, making it messy, keeping it tight, keeping it close. And Lawrence Okoli obviously cannot fight up in close. He can't fight tight. He struggles with it big time. But what he seems to do also is rely on that big right hand that he has. He kind of cocks the right hand. He'll throw a punch, cock the right hand, and then go lunging in with the right cross, and then he just gets tangled up because he just doesn't. He needs to learn how to fight off range and fight off distance and use his attributes, his height, his reach, and take his time and set up punches. He doesn't set up punches. He should be throwing in a couple of combinations and then hitting him with that big right hand. Do you know what I mean? Which is obviously his big knockout punch. I'm hoping Shane McGuigan will be able to work that for him. Do you know what I mean? And work. But from that performance, I said that I wouldn't, Sky are kind of building him to be this pay-per-view fighter. That's what they're doing because they love him. And their reaction to him, they kind of brush over that it's a shit. Well, when they brush over a shit fight, they say it's the opponent. The opponent made it messy and blah, blah, blah. It's always the opponent. It's never Lawrence Okoli not, using his attributes correctly and fighting on the outside. And even Shane McGuigan was guilty of saying that. But there's no way that he could be a box office fighter purely because he's just awful it's awful to watch. It's not great to watch. It was stopped early. I totally agree with that. It should have gone on, but I think that's been on a matchroom card. He's seen as a bit of a golden boy.
It's not on though, is it?
No, it's not on. It's not on.
But I was fuming.
That
for the other bloke as well.
That has been happening in boxing for 100 years. Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be sort of grey area when it comes to stoppages. But I think that, he needs to do a lot of work because it's just messy. It's just really messy. And he reflects on him really bad because I'm sure he's a better boxer than what we're seeing. But for some reason, he doesn't know how to push an opponent off and keep distance. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, and I hope that Shane McGuigan, because Shane McGuigan is a good trainer, that he can sort that out, but it needs to be sorted quickly because you imagine paying pay-per-view, because when he gets a world title fight, they're going to be looking for, big money for that. And no.
Well, the first thing me and Phil said, after this, was let's get down as soon as possible. The next big fight we can get down to, we're going to go to it. And he puts me off buying a ticket. He will devalue an event for me because he is awful. And I don't say that lightly either, because I've watched him loads actually. I've watched most of his fights, and I've always shrugged it off, mainly because I'm not interested in his fights and they just kind of gloss over fights. And I always think he's fighting a low level of opponent in comparison to him. So I feel like his level drops is what I've historically thought. But watching that was awful because I was so frustrated after the Ben fight because I thought that was shite. And then having to watch that shite, I was like, I've been here an hour and a half now and I've not watched the fight yet. And it was him who's initiating the clinch every time. It wasn't Ngannou. It was 100% Okoli. And like you said, he doesn't know how to fight on the inside, but he doesn't fight at range.
But that's what I mean. He
can't fight on the outside either, can he?
No, and that's the problem. But I don't necessarily think he's shit.
Well, he's European champion, so
I don't think he's shit. Do you know what I mean? I just don't think he's got this ability. He's obviously got ability. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't be where he was. He wouldn't have been Olympian if he didn't have ability. But it's this whole keeping range thing, keeping distance. He hasn't got a clue, or he's trying to rush his work. So he's always looking for that big right hand. So it's pop and bang straight in, and he kind of falls into it. And when he falls into it against a smaller fighter who wants to fight close, it's going to be messy because he can't fight on the inside. Do you know what I mean? He should be moving around and keeping at distance, not looking for quick knockouts. Just take your time. Do you know what I mean? But it's just...
I don't know what he can do. This is kind of the stage I'm at. He can win, can't he? I mean,
that's it. Yeah. That's it. He wins. Yeah. And he does win. And he keeps winning. Do you know what I mean? It's only till he fights the top-end boys that we're kind of going to see how good he is and whether he can adapt and whether he can change it. And maybe he just needs more time. And I mean, I know they say he's only, 13 fights, something like that, 13, 14 fights. So, you know, I would, at the moment, even though it was a shit fight, give him the benefit of the doubt, to be honest.
Wishing the best of luck, but no benefit of doubt from me. But I think you would get a point for most of the Lawrence Coley fight from memory.
Yeah, and that sums up the Lawrence Coley fight. I enjoyed spending time in the queue at the bar for a £7 pint than watching for any more than 4 rounds. He was awful. He was really awful. I agree with Jay to a point. He's obviously got ability, otherwise he wouldn't be there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not someone that's watched particularly too many of his fights. Will, you were saying, you know, this guy that is being trained, he's Dominic Ingle was training him, saying, yeah, you know, this will be a good fight. This, you know, a Coley's 6'5", and I can see what Jay you're saying there. He's for a cruiserweight, he's massive. You know, and the bloke he was fighting, I can't remember what was his name. Will, is it
Bez and Garbu?
Garbu was 5'11", so you're thinking, okay, so a bit of a size difference and whatever. I've not previously seen a Coley. It wasn't even jab and grab. It was lunge and headlock. It was awful. And that's all he was doing, jab and it's just horrible. And it was clinch every time. There was no combos thrown. There was nothing. The other guy couldn't do anything. And you just...
But he doesn't set up punches, though. It doesn't set up punches. Like, in a way, like Deontay Wilder will kind of cock this right hand, won't he? But Deontay Wilder, and he's not the greatest technical boxer, but he still knows how to keep a distance and set a punch up. Lawrence Coley can't set a puncher.
I mean, to bring Harry on it, because he obviously didn't watch it, but you can give your thoughts on this. Because another fight that comes to mind when I think horrible grabbing was Povetkin and Klitschko. That's one of the worst fights I've seen for grabbing. You know, the level was so much higher. But what about the ref not having a word?
Yeah.
Against the rules, isn't it? To be doing that, I'm sure it is.
I remember watching the Coley Matty Askin fight. Yeah, I remember watching the Coley Matty Askin fight, and I was really looking forward to that. I can't remember what card it was on. It was on a heavyweight card last year sometime, and I was really looking forward to it because it'd been built up, you know, a domestic level big cruiserweight fight. And the ref had a word then in that fight. The ref stopped them, you know, 2 or 3 times, and it got to a point where the commentators were calling for them to start taking points off of Coley. I didn't want to. I had no interest in watching the fight, and you know, it annoys me more. Just to sway off the actual fight was after Eddie Hearn defended him in his usual manner, and it's like you've got no saying, and it was annoying because he was saying you're forgetting that he's fighting people above his level and all this. It's like, well, don't put him in with people above his level. If he can't fight them and he's doing a shit job, don't put him in with them. If he's making himself look shit, he's making the cards look shit. Why are you still putting him in them fights above the level that he's supposed to be at? I'd rather see him knock out bin man than grab for 4 rounds. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know the exact interview you're on about. Eddie was saying, don't expect an exciting fight with a Coley, but get behind him because he gets the result.
But this is what I talked about last week, about this gap between their pay-per-view fighters and the fighters that they want to be potential pay-per-view and pushing them quickly. And like he's sort of they've signed him, they've put money into him. They can't just run away from it now. Yeah. They've got to stick with him, and this is why they'll keep hyping him, because they see him. They've earmarked him as a potential pay-per-view, as a box office fighter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and that's why, and that's why he's being probably rushed quicker than he usually would be, because they need to make up this time gap.
I I worry you're right. Like I say, I hope he's not on a pay-per-view card again, unless it's at a world level. I've got no interest in watching that. But it's poor. I think as well, probably because it's on a matchroom card, the ref wasn't having a word. So I was so shocked. I mean, I turned to the bloke next to me, with his young lad, and I went, because he was a Londoner, he was a player in London. I was like, are you cheering for Lawrence here? You know, are you supporting Lawrence? And his exact words to me were, well, I usually do, but this is absolutely disgusting. You know, to be having London fans saying that's not good, is it? Bad for business. So we'll see where he goes.
The level also as well, just as a quick point, Hearn coming out and defending him. I can see why he's done that. Obviously, he's defending the guy in his stable. 100% they're having a word with him, or Shane McGuigan behind closed doors, because, like you said, people will soon be turned off from watching that. And if people are turned off from watching that, no money in it, and that's when Hearn will get. They'll have a word with him, I'm sure, because, like, you know, if you put him, the only way that card was a good card because of the last 3 fights. If a Coley, say, I don't know, second before a main event, and you're watching that, you're not going to go watch it again, are you? No chance. It's not happening. So I think I'll be very surprised if they're not having a word behind closed doors going, look, that last fight, although you won, fair play, was trash. You're better than that. Sort it out, because people won't watch it. So
Absolutely. We'll move on, so I won't spend any more on Coley. A proper fight, one I really enjoyed. The first proper fight of the night, Phil. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah.
Ricky Burns and Lee Selby.
Come on, Ricky!
Oh, Ricky! There was a lot of Scots there that night. And there was some taglines that stayed in our heads, didn't it, Phil? I'm guilty of not knowing too much about either. I've watched both fighters quite a bit, but not in their primes. And I'm told Lee Selby's past his prime, as with Ricky. So I can't comment too much, but I thought we'll go to kind of the TV viewers there on the left-hand side of the screen, Harry and Jay, after this, before going back to Phil. I had Lee Selby winning it easily. I thought there was moments where Ricky turned it into a fight, but I thought Lee boxed him well. I had it 8-4, 9-3. Well, like a very comfortable 8-4, 9-3 where, you know, he was never hurt during the process, and the rounds that Lee won, he won clearly. There weren't many swing rounds. That's all I had to it. It was lovely to see Lee. I mean, I've seen a lot of reaction after saying that he's not at his best and he needs time to adjust to the weight. From my eye, I thought he boxed really well. I thought he was light on his feet. I thought he had his jab out there. Some of the counter shots he got on Ricky, I thought were really good. And I was just dead impressed with Lee Selby. But I guess Jay can comment as well. He's probably seen more of Selby than I have. What do the TV boys, I'm going to call you, think to the fight?
I really like Lee Selby. I've always liked Lee Selby. I think he's really good movement, you know, good defensively, quick. Obviously, it all kind of came crashing down against Josh Warrington. Do you know what I mean? And I would have had him to win that fight. But obviously, Josh Warrington is better than we've all expected, because I had Frampton to beat him as well. So, do you know what I mean? He's always surprising me. But I think Lee Selby has come up a weight. And looking obviously for honours now. He's 32. I don't know whether we didn't see, whether we saw 70% of Lee Selby and he's just kind of working into the weight as such, or, you know, we've seen the best of him and now he's on the down. I'm not so sure. I think there's more to come from Lee Selby. As far as Ricky Burns concerned, I love Ricky Burns. I think he's like a throwback. He's just like a proper good pro. Do you know what I mean? That whole thing.
Does he have the Manny Pacquiao effect on you, though, where you think sod off now?
Well, no, because I'd never say that about a fighter, because, look, at the end of the day, if they want to fight, let them fight. Do you know what I mean? And you know, he's not someone I hate, and it's not someone, you know, that I just you know, you've got to kind of respect the guy's a 3-weight world champion. Do you know what I mean? Which is insane. Do you know what I mean? Considering his limitations, you know, technically he's not great, but his fundamentals are really good. He's really fit. He's strong. He's tough. He keeps going.
What weight's at AJ? Is that 126 to 35?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I, you know, so you kind of got, but obviously when he came up against Crawford, you know, he got turned over and it can crash down. But we know how good Crawford is, so there's no surprise there. Crawford's like one of the best, if not the best boxer in the world. So, you know, but, you know, Selby should have, and I said it before, Selby should have handled him pretty easily. And he pretty much did. You know, Ricky Burns had some success purely because of his pressure and because of his fitness and throwing those really long hooks and connected a few times. But, you know, I don't think really, you know, whoever was going to win that fight, Selby needed to win that fight more than Ricky Burns in some senses, because Selby's got more of a chance of hitting that world title than Ricky Burns is. Now, Ricky Burns will always get fights no matter what. He's a name. He'll always put in, you know, 110%, etc., etc. And if you saw that interview afterwards where he was crying, I mean, it's fucking heartbreaking to me.
Was it? What was he crying about then?
Because he believed he won, right?
What?
He believed he won, which he's entitled to believe that he won. Do you know what I mean? And every fighter, I think, when it comes onto scorecards, they always kind of believe that they won 9 times out of 10. But he was crying because, and this is true, that I'm not necessarily one, but like ultimately, judges' scorecards can affect a person's career like massively. Do you know what I mean? If you win a fight, you could get a world title shot and make more money. If you don't win a fight, so Ricky Burns losing that fight, where does he go?
Should have made it closer then, shouldn't he?
Huh?
Should have made it closer then.
Obviously, easier said than done. But now he's going to go for, it's going to be British title level. That's where he's at. He's just going to be pulled out for a name against an up-and-coming fighter. Do you know what I mean? Which is quite sad, really. But nevertheless, you know, he was never going to reach that world title shot again. Do you know what I mean? So I think now he's cashing in, whether he'll retire or not, I don't think he will. I think he can. I don't know how many. He's had like 56 fights or 52 fights or something.
Snooze.
It's like, so, but, you know, carry on, do you know what I mean? And
well, you'll keep going, Jay. I mean, I'm sure you're not surprised to hear the amount of Scots that were there. And without a doubt, he dominated the crowd cheering, didn't he, Phil, all night, really? Ricky Burns. I heard that many a time.
But what I will say is that he's had money issues, hasn't he?
So is that why he keeps going?
I think so. I think he had some major money issues, and a lot of the money that he made in his earlier career, he kind of lost, I think. So, I mean,
is that why he's crying?
He loves it, but, you know, there's always a financial element somewhere, I think.
Interesting. TV Man 2, Harry, Selby Burns.
Yeah, I didn't love the fight. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was a nice fight. I think Ricky Burns didn't do enough for me to make it a fight that I'd enjoy. I think he kind of let Selby dictate the fight, let Selby run at his own pace. Apart from them 30 seconds every few rounds where he'd like go for it, and then I think it kind of showed the decline of Ricky Burns. You know, you might have seen it from the crowd, but a few times he was like looking at the ref, giving them little moans, giving them little like, you know, if they like tapped heads, he'd like look, or if a shot was low, he'd look at the refs. And I can't really imagine Ricky Burns doing that 3-4 years ago. But to talk on Selby, I think he boxed well. I don't think he's got the power in that division because he didn't really have the power in the lower division.
No.
So I think that's where
he's okay, isn't he? You know, he's a pure boxer, isn't it?
He's really skillful and he can hit, but he's one of them. He's like Tyson Fury-esque. He doesn't tend to plant his feet and, you know, throw leather. He tends to just tap around and keep moving, which is a brilliant style. But I think when you start getting onto them higher levels, you've got to make them elite fighters respect that power if you have got any. I think that's like Hughie Fury. You know, fighters don't respect his power, so they'll just walk through his jab.
Well, me and Phil said actually during the fight, didn't we? It's lovely to watch because he's such a purist boxer.
Yeah,
he's throwing shots to win points rather than to hurt his opponent because he's that good.
Yeah.
And just quickly, shout out to Jerry Sean who's watching. He thinks Selby looked outboxed by an old Ricky Burns at times. Disagree massively, but thanks for your thoughts, fella. Keep them to yourself.
I think I'm 30-second bursts. It can sell. Yeah. It can sell a fight sometimes.
I think one of the scorecards was a draw, wasn't it? For them.
Was it?
Yeah, I think on the judges' scorecards, one gave it a draw. I might be wrong actually.
No, you're right. I can remember. Yeah.
I thought watching it, one thing we said as we watched it whilst we were there, Selby's foot movement is very good. That's not talked about that much, but yeah, the way he was moving, especially early on in the fight as well, he just looked better.
Yeah,
to be fair to Ricky Burns, he's 37, he's 38, he's at the end of his career. Selby was he featherweight champion, and now he's moved up 2 weight divisions and he was fighting at lightweight. He's looking to re-establish and reinvent himself in a heavier division. And I think the first half of the fight, he did that quite comfortably. And then the only success that Burns had was when he turned it into, just a good old fashioned scrap. Like not
throwing them 4 straight shots, wasn't he?
Yeah, just when it was up, when it was up close and he was backing Selby up, and that's when it got it. That was the only success that Burns was really having. And I think by that point, Selby, a lot of those shots weren't landing too. A lot were, but not all of them. So, Selby was soaking up that pressure. And, Burns was resorting to, at the end of every round, they seemed to be hitting each other after the bell. And Burns knew he had to sort of do something a little bit different, a little bit dirty almost, not to disrespect him. But, he was getting outboxed completely, especially in the early part of the rounds. And then later on, it got a little bit more messy. And that's where some people may, think they had more success. But, yeah, I think Selby won it comfortably. Burns put up a fight. It was an interesting fight to watch. He didn't roll over and die. I don't think he ever has done that. But, yeah, it's a shame, really, because, well, it's not a shame. He's at the end of his career. He's not good enough to be competing with a bloke 6-7 years younger who has been a world champion lower down. So, yeah, I think Selby, if he is going, if he's fighting at lightweight, who are the chat? That's Luke Campbell, isn't it? Lomachenko.
Torres.
They're not.
I think he hasn't got the power.
They're all good fights.
I'd like to see it. Yeah. I think, if you fought Luke Campbell, who's a big guy, that could be interesting. Well, I think Luke Campbell would beat him actually. But yeah, if he's going to establish himself, I think he did a good job of it against Burns. Really, he was never really under pressure. I think he won. He boxed the fight out, and he knew he was going to win it. So
absolutely. To move on then. A quick 5 minutes on this because I kind of want to move ahead to next week shortly. Just talk everything in the Ben family, Nigel and son Connor. Connor was the first fight on, and obviously Nigel has had a big announcement this week. Chuck in your thoughts. My thoughts thought Connor Ben looked rubbish. I'll take that back. He didn't look rubbish. He was just fighting a nobody. And I thought he looks small for the weight. It was hitting his opponent flush a lot, and his opponent weren't bothered. And I said to Phil earlier, I bet when he gets in the ring, look at Selby and Burners later on at 35, he looks the same size as those guys. So I think welterweight is a nightmare for him going forward. I mean, I think he's about 5'8", and you've got 5'9", 5'10" guys at welter, and the guys who are 5'8" are Sean Porter and Crawford. Obviously, I don't think he's ever going to get to that world level, so it's not a factor anyway. But my point being, I think he's too small for the weight. So I don't know whether that's a discipline issue or whether I've got my scales wrong. But I weren't too interested in him. And with regards to Nigel pulling out his fight, I think it's good news. The talking point is whether it's because of his shoulder or whether it's a bit more sinister, and it's not. Yeah. And he's not selling tickets, and he's maybe trying to hype his stuff.
The lowest ticket was like 50 quid.
Say again?
It was 50 quid, I think, for the cheapest ticket.
What, sorry?
Huh?
My language. No way.
Yeah. So I was because I was looking at it and I was thinking,
Buy one? Were you going to buy one, Jim?
Well, my nephew.
It's in Birmingham, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I'm in Birmingham and my nephew is he's 14. He's just started getting into boxing and he's loving it. So I thought I'd want to take him to a fight.
Brilliant.
So I just thought, okay, I'll have a look. And I was looking at it and the cheapest ticket was like 50 quid. And I was just like,
no chance.
Are you mad?
Where are they going to have it, Jay?
Resorts World, which is like NEC, basically.
He
fought there years ago, but it's kind of like it's for 50 quid. I kind of thought, well, because he was saying it's not about the money and this, that, and the other. You know, you think he'd start tickets maybe like 20, 25 quid. Do you know what I mean? And sort of work your way up. Do you know what I mean? Because
that's Clifton Mitchell white collar prices, Jay.
But it's only right, isn't it? It's not fucking.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Let's be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you get a world title ticket for like 60 quid, do you know what I mean? It's the same 50 quid. He's just like he's insane. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think a lot of it's selling it. I think a lot of it's to do with selling it because it wouldn't be good, would it, if you went there and there's only half a crowd?
It's a big arena as well for a empty boxing event.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's money to do with it. Do you know what I mean? Because he's already gone, well, injury. Oh, well, that's it. That's all over now. Forget it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, well,
I did think that when I was reading it today that so obviously he's pulled out of a shoulder injury, and then he said, "Yeah, I'm announcing my retirement. It's not going to happen." Blah blah blah. And you're just thinking, well, surely you fight when you're fit if you're serious about doing it. But obviously it wasn't selling out. I think there probably is more of a sinister reason for it because you postpone the fight, don't you? You know,
You postpone.
You don't just call it quits like that.
Yeah.
Unless he genuinely thinks. What? Sorry.
I said you fight at 56 instead, don't you? If you're injured.
Well, this is it. But you can't. You can't spend weeks saying I'm the fittest I've ever been in my whole entire life. I'm fitter than when I was at my prime.
What's he trying to peddle?
All of a sudden you have an injury and you're never going to fight again.
It's just I don't know. Either it wasn't selling, which I don't think it probably was, or he's had the realization that he could have got seriously hurt. But when we were talking about this on earlier podcasts, people like, our generation, I'm 24, I never saw Nigel Benn in his prime. I've got no affiliations. I've got no loyalty to him almost. I've got no interest in him fighting Bicker.
Yeah, nor have I.
And that's it. So we're not bothered. We're not going to pay for it. We're not paying 50 quid for it if that's the cheapest ticket. Jay isn't paying 50 quid for it. And, he has got an affiliation to it. So do you know what I mean? Like no one was bothered really at all, especially this time of year as well, like October, November. If you think about the boxing that's going on, you just had Josh Taylor. You've got Chris
Eubank Jr. against Korobov on the same night as Joshua.
Let's discuss that later. Quick shout out again to Jerry Shaw. He's cracking me up actually. He says £20 maximum for that ticket. 50 quid is Frankie Gavin prices. So Jay can look to take his nephew Frankie Gavin. If he gets saved.
Shall we quickly finish the card up? Because there was one more fight, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
How could I forget? I was actually going to move on to next week.
I know you, without mentioning his name.
Yeah.
My man.
The big guy.
My man.
Yeah. The podcast celebrity as well.
My man.
David Chisora and David Price. Harry, you look chomping at the bit, mate, to get your words in on this. Do you want to put your hat in?
Elite.
Who, Price or?
No. Look. What can you say? He actually, obviously was fighting a, punch bag. Like there was nothing coming back. He was getting inside dead easily. He was fighting a 6'4" punch bag. That's what he was fighting. He got clipped. I mean, he got clipped at the end of the second, or was the end of the first. And he said it wobbled him. But I mean, look, he looked really, really, really sharp under the circumstances. Chisora. Honestly, power. He was hitting hard. He was hitting.
I'd say he looked busy.
No, under the circumstances of him fighting Price in, there was nothing coming back. To
He got wobbled with an uppercut.
Yeah. Look, Price is a hard hitter. Look, you obviously see a different TV to, but he was getting inside. He's throwing big shots. He got him out of there, didn't he?
I could watch that on YouTube, and Price was.
It's like a circus fight. I loved it. It was great to watch. Loved
That's
it.
the thing. He knew. I think of it as a fight. Chisora knew the only way he was going to, knock him out was to get inside, rough him up, and hit him. Yeah. Rough it, like a street fight, brawl it almost. Yeah. So that's why he made it. It was ugly, but he got in there. He was hitting hard. I think he looked pissed off. That's what he looked. He looked like he wanted to get him out of there. He's pissed off that Parker pulled out.
Bless Price's soul. We'll go to Price's number one fan in a second, but it's quite funny what a comedy show he's turned into, because right from get-go, I can hear comments flying around going, imagine being 6'5" with no chin. Or here he goes, and then before you know it, he's on his knees and the towel's thrown in, and you're borderline like giggling like.
When I was in the concourse getting a pint during the Okoli fight, we were waiting ages, and
this is a recurring theme, everyone.
I was talking to this guy, and we were just complaining about the Okoli fight. And we were like, "Oh, do you know what time the next fight's?" And I was like, "I don't know, but Price has probably been knocked out already." Like there was no. This was 2 fights before his fight. Just no one had any faith in him.
Olympic medalist,
bronze medalist, and yeah, I think also. Price on points, Jay. Good effort with that one.
Jay's head in hands, look.
But we'll give him time. But I think we said, because we watched the weigh-in, didn't we, on the Friday? Well,
yeah.
When Chisora weighed in, he looked lean. He looked like he trained properly, and he looked up for it. And coming into the fight as well, to be fair to him, he did get Price out of there. A little bit of a worry for him when, was it the first or second? I can't remember which round it was, but where he gave Price absolute hell for 30 seconds. And Price still managed to land a flush uppercut on him, which stalled him a little bit. And that over the top right hand telegraph.
Unbelievable.
Jesus Christ. You could see it coming a mile away, but he was landing it on Price. So I think
can't stop it.
Get him in with you. I say get Chisora in with Usyk or Joseph Parker. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, same. Big up Chisora.
I think for Price, that's him done, because the knockout is as it was. It got stopped. He could have got back up, and if that's enough to stop him, if that's enough for his corner to go, no, we've seen enough.
They've got compassion, haven't they?
That's his career. That's his career done and dusted. Really, he's not. He shouldn't be fighting at levels like that anymore. He's just not got it in him. He's just mentally, physically, skill-wise, he's just not good enough. And I don't even want to see him put in as cannon fodder anymore. I just,
stay away from European gateways.
Yeah, I'd like Price to just quietly retire and just get on with his life, and he doesn't need. He had the piss taken out of him.
Anyway, I'm gonna have to stop you, Phil. I'm gagging to hear it.
Yeah.
Secret Scouts, King J.
Okay, so
let you loose.
Look, let's be honest. Chisora's no great shakes. Fuck that, is he? I'm not having it at all.
No, it's not. I agree with you on that.
What I will say is, Price. I said last week that it was a hard decision over a head decision, and I said that in my video. But
I
will say his tactics were wrong. I said it's going to go either way, in the sense that he's either going to get inside or he's going to. Well, what his tactics were wrong. What were his?
It wouldn't have mattered.
Huh?
It wouldn't have mattered.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think that if it had kept him at range and not got inside like he did from the opening bell, that he wouldn't have got us caught as easy? He was getting.
He's not good enough to.
As far. Well, I don't believe that. I think he's got ability. I would never question David Price's ability. What I would question his stamina, his chin, and his mental state, because I think his mental state plays a massive part. Because he basically did it with and I'm not saying Dave Allen is Derek Chisora, but do you know what I mean? He boxed to a plan. He boxed him at range, and that's what Derek Chisora. And at no point from the start of that fight did he think about boxing at range. He just went straight in, head on, take punches to give punches. I don't know why he did it. For whatever reason he did. As far as Derek Chisora is concerned, Derek Chisora was blowing after 3 rounds. He was fucked. He was blowing after 3 rounds. You could see him going back to his corner, blowing. Now, there's no way Derek Chisora could keep up that pace for 5 or 6 rounds. No way. No way. Because I don't think he's in the same sort of condition that he has been in previous fights. Because you can tell by his body. The six-pack's gone. The change of trainer. His trainer, whoever that is, fucking hell.
He came in with no trainer. He just... I'm going to call you out a bit, Jay, because I can't buy the David Price mental. What past performance of Price's are you going on for him to say if his tactics were different, he could have done better?
Well, who's he been? Who's he been beaten
Thompson?
by?
Who's he been beaten by?
Yeah.
Anyone with a boxing license.
Tony Thompson twice.
Or anyone that was on PEDs.
Christian Hammer.
Someone that has PEDs. No, I'm not saying he's like the greatest boxer, but what I'm saying, and I was said when you were watching the fight, you could literally, it was just like waiting for it to happen. You can see one of them performances waiting to happen because his hands were down. He wasn't using his range. He wasn't using any sort of distance. Do you know what I mean? He was doing the opposite that he should have been doing. Why? No. I don't know. Because they must have known that's the only... I said last week, the only way the other person is going to win is that Chisora's going to come in tight, and the only way Price is going to win is by boxing at range and putting that jab and just pointing that jab. And if he'd have put that jab out, it would have surely made Chisora think twice or would have took a lot more punishment. But Chisora went in there thinking, "What? I'm just going to blow him out. I'm just going to blow him out." And they banked on blowing him out because he was knackered after 3 rounds. He was knackered. There's no way he could do that.
I'm not going to jump on you because he's not world class. I'm not going to try and pretend like he is and try and be comedy. But I'll say this with David Price. Is the mental thing completely blown out of proportion? And has he ever been above British level?
Well, watch. You watch all his fights up until Tony Thompson.
Who was his best opponent?
I couldn't tell you offhand, but he was blitzing people. Now you can say, well, a lot of fighters blitz people, etc., etc. But he took a fight at a time with Tony Thompson that he shouldn't have took. He was badly advised with that. He shouldn't have took that fight. It was not necessary. He didn't do it. And things like that. And you see it in many sports that something like that can be very pinnacle in a sportsman's career because it can affect you mentally. It'll make you think twice. It will. Do you know what I mean? Now you could.
Mate. Let me put this to you then.
Yeah.
So, in an ideal world where his mental game's not been affected, what level do you think his potential is?
Potential?
Yeah.
European level. He's a European level fighter at his best.
So do you think, though, that even if his mental game's been affected, he should be dominating British level fighters then?
Not at this stage of his career, no.
No.
Not at this stage of his career, because at the end of the day, he's getting older. He's no, and he's been hit a lot and he's been knocked out severely. Yeah. You know, against Erkan, it was frightening how he was knocked out. Do you know what I mean? But you will always second guess it. You will always second. It's like a striker in football. Like a striker will before he scores or when he hits a ball, he doesn't think. He doesn't have time to think. He just does it and it's done. Do you know what I mean? But when a striker's off form and he starts missing, he starts to think before he hits it. And because of that quick second of thinking, that's when mistakes happen. And that's happening with David Price, because you imagine in the back of the head, every time you went into a fight thinking, fuck, I got really badly knocked out at such and such time. I got really badly knocked out at such and such a time. Do you know what I mean? It all will play on you. It will play. And I said last week that it's whether he's overcome those demons. And he said he had. And I thought possibly maybe he has. And if he has, Do you know what I mean? Then that's a major part in his game, but he obviously hasn't, and he got, you know, whitewashed. Do you know what I mean? And Chisora did the right thing, but I don't think, you know, Chisora's rejuvenated, obviously. But
you might be right. I just feel like I watched this fight with Cash Ali, and what level is Cash Ali?
Yeah, of course.
And it was hard work for him.
But I'm not saying that he is, because he obviously isn't like a European level now. Do you know what I mean?
No.
But his attributes, if he can click everything together, and with his attributes, like he did against Dave Allen, you hope he'd have improved from that, because going from opponent to opponent, trying to improve from that, he could literally box Chisora at range, because that's how you beat him. He couldn't. Do you know what I mean? Because although Chisora is very good at making things close, putting pressure on, taking punches to give punches, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, stick him against Usyk, gets his ass kicked severely.
Yeah, that might be worth talking about, actually, next week. We'll move on to the big one then, fellas. I'm buzzing for it. Sky have announced that they've bought the Canelo versus Kovalev fight. I'm still currently on my £16 a month Now TV Sky Sports package, so I'm over the moon. Someone in the comments has asked, forgive me, Domo 5K, what is everyone's thoughts for Ryan Garcia versus nobody? So if you can give your thoughts on Ryan Garcia, fellas. And obviously, let's talk Canelo Kovalev now. Does anyone want to kick off? Harry?
Canelo's going to win this.
Why?
Well, we've talked about it before, haven't we?
Yeah, it's fight week though. It's fight week.
Yeah, now you've got to back up your words. Yeah, well, Canelo's a more skillful boxer. And you look back to Kovalev's last fight against Yard, which Yard gave him problems. Yard's got a lot to do to get up back to, you know, world level, but it gave him problems. And he's going in against, you know, some regard as the pound for pound best boxer on the planet, certainly top 1, 2, or 3. He's not going to knock Kovalev out. I don't think he's got the power at light heavy. But yeah, you know, his defense, one of the best on the planet. His movement, his skill. He's taken that fight for a reason as well. I am going to buy into Canelo's confidence for taking it. And I think out of, you know, your current light heavy champions, especially again, he doesn't want to fight Beterbiev, he doesn't want to fight Bivol, but against Kovalev, yeah, he's fighting an older guy who did look good against Yard. He was able to win that fight, but I think that was more down to his experience of how to win it. I think he's going to have a lot of problems against Kovalev. And unless he, you know, puts in a career best performance where he really puts it on him, works that jab. If you don't get that jab going, that's it. But yeah, I think Kovalev's got to be the best performance we've probably seen from him to beat Canelo. Whereas I think Canelo, you know, just needs to turn up, good shape, box his way, and I think Kovalev has got a very hard night's work ahead of him. So yeah, I think Canelo's going to win this on point, personally.
Hazza?
I'm not going to call obviously I'll have to call the fight tonight because we obviously do the predictions, but I'm looking forward to seeing Canelo on the scales and on the weigh-in because I want to see the size. I want to see what he's put on. He looks big on when he's, you know, I've seen a few videos of him on the pads and on the bag, and he looks big. He looks, you know, his back looks big, nice and muscly. So it'd be nice to see them stood next to each other, size each other up. But yeah, I think, you know, it's one of them ones, isn't it? I think Kovalev, if Kovalev can stay in the fight early on, I can see Canelo getting tired carrying that weight. You know, he's got to put a lot of output into, you know, hurt Kovalev otherwise, and he's got to put a lot of output into slow Kovalev down because if Kovalev gets that jab going, you know, you could put a lot of, you know, it could be dangerous for Canelo. But yeah, it's going to be a great fight. Can't see either of them stopping each other. I mean, Canelo's proved to everyone that he's got a granite chin.
Yeah.
And I can't see Canelo carrying that power up all the way up to light heavy to really, really worry Kovalev. But yeah, it's going to be a good, I think it's one of the ones, it's made to be a good fight for the weight jump. It's made to be a good fight for the styles. I just really look forward to seeing them on the scales. I want to see the size. You know, if he gets on the scales and he looks small, doesn't look like he's going to put much weight on after, obviously I can't see him having to cut any weight for the fight. So he's going to come on the scales the way he's going to come into the fight. Kovalev's obviously going to cut the weight, so he's going to put the weight on the next day. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a good fight anyway. Looking forward to it.
Mr. J?
Well, I always said that Canelo will win the fight on points. I just think technically just too good, too schooled, too well schooled, too class in his peak. Obviously can move up weights. He's picked his opponent well. He's picked the timing well, like all these great champions like Mayweather, etc. They pick their opponents and they cherry pick their opponents at the right time. Not many fighters have the luxury to pick the fighters that they want to fight. Do you know what I mean? They tend to get told in a way. So yeah, I think it's just perfect time, and I think he'll come out as another weight world champion.
We'll do specific predictions in a bit. But all three of you, because I think getting the feel of it, I'm the only guy who kind of...
What's your opinion?
Okay. I'm just going to go on previous a little bit. I'm a big Kovalev fan. I am biased. But I am going to use, as I do with all my predictions, I'm going to use what I've seen from both with my thoughts on it. And Canelo's a big puncher, but he's not a knockout puncher. You know, he didn't knock out Golovkin, Jacobs, Lara. He's not known for, he's known as a boxer, isn't he, over a puncher. So I think going up to 175, just mathematics and like size tells you it's going to be a struggle to knock out Kovalev, over the hill or not. Kovalev's notorious for being a fast starter, which he is. So I think the first 3 or 4 rounds, Canelo will have to do some figuring out, some adjusting, you know, kind of have a good look at Kovalev before he implements his game plan. So I think Kovalev's going to be good for 4 or 5 rounds anyway, before he takes any kind of heat. So I think just on that basis, it's going to go the distance. Canelo's also renowned for having rounds off, for going slower a couple of rounds, especially if he's up on the cards or taking his time. So I think he could chuck some rounds away. So taking them things into account, I think it's going to be close. Now, the decision will always go Canelo's way if it makes it to that 12th. So obviously, you'd pick Canelo to win, but I will pick Kovalev to win because I always try to like kind of disregard A-side and bias and all that malarkey. So I think it's a really good fight. I think regardless of if Kovalev's over the hill, I think Kovalev can hurt Canelo if he hits him. Definitely. Not in terms of knocking him out, but in terms of making him second guess throwing a punch, in terms of making him come close to the inside. If he can land his jab enough in the opening rounds, or Canelo feels the weight more than what he thought he would, you know, it can be a hard night for Canelo. So I've just got it as 50-50 based on how good Kovalev is now. So that's kind of where I stand with it.
I think if Kovalev shows his age.
And Kovalev only fought 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's interesting. What are your thoughts on the factor of that?
Well,
it's a hard fight, wasn't it?
Bad thing, do you know what I mean? It could be a bad thing at his age, or it could be a good thing because his training is not usually great and consistent. So, do you know what I mean?
On the vodka, is he?
That is, you know, that is planned by Canelo's team. Do you know what I mean? For sure, they've looked at that and gone, "Let's get him in quick."
That works to his advantage.
So it's kind of like, I just don't. They have a way of matchmaking that they'll always make sure everything they possibly can will be in the favour of Canelo, because Canelo losing to Kovalev is not in their plans.
It's not a good business, is it?
Disastrous.
No.
So they don't. This is not a whim. You know.
Okay. Shout out to some predictions from the comments. Whiskey Dragonfly, lovely boxing related name. Canelo's height and low centre of gravity will benefit him. His upper body defensive mechanics will allow him to slip and rip to the body. I think we should get him on the show. That's better analysis than us four combined. Be nice to see Cov get a KO. Adonis Chickinson out of nowhere. Don't know where that came from. Sounds like everyone's picking Canelo. I'll ask you three then before we give predictions. What's the keys to victory for Canelo? What does he have to do from that first bell to make sure? I think it's going to go 12. So in terms of him winning the fight technically, what does Canelo have to implement and get going from round one to win the fight?
Got to work that body, I think. Got to get that body. Got to get them body shots. He's got to slow him down.
So inside.
Quick. Yeah, he's got to get inside. Got to work the body. He's got to slow Kovalev down, show his age. He's got to make Kovalev show his age.
Okay. Is there anything Canelo needs to worry about from what Kovalev offers, or do you not think he's that over the hill? It's going to be a comfortable night.
I don't think it's a case of. Oh, you go, Harry.
No, carry on. I was just saying no.
I don't think over the hills. He's coming towards the end of his career. That's without doubt. Whether he's over the hill, well, he's still a world champion at 175. But I think, I look at the Yard fight, and the majority of that, he won most of the round. But I can't remember which round it was, 8th, 9th, whichever it was, where Yard nearly stopped him. I don't care what anybody says. He was a punch away from that fight being stopped by the ref. And that was against an up-and-coming light heavyweight. So, I think Canelo's going to do a far better job than Yard is. He's by far the better boxer than Yard. And if he does slow Kovalev, if he starts quick, Canelo does, or quicker than he usually does, and doesn't give these early rounds away, and does slow the bigger man down, and he does get him in a position where he can then land a flurry of punches and things like that, it'll be a real interesting test to see if Kovalev can withstand that. Because, Yard got him in a position where he nearly stopped him. I'm sure Canelo could do the same as well. So then we'll see Canelo's power as well. I think that's the real interesting thing for me, is what's Canelo, what's his power like? Because if Kovalev can eat his shots up and he's moved up 2 weight divisions and he's just not got the power, then Kovalev can put it on him. Bigger guy, got his own power as well. Then Canelo could be in trouble. But no, I think you might see a stoppage. I think you might see a stoppage from this. I think Canelo, if he does get him in a position like Yard did, I think he would finish him off. So, yeah, but for Canelo, he's got to slow the man down. And I agree with you, Will. If it does go 12, he can't afford to be throwing rounds away because, again, with the Golovkin fight, the first one goes down as a draw and the second one obviously went down as a win. But, us four, first one he definitely lost. The second one I personally thought he lost too. His 2 defining fights, really, there's question marks over them. This fight, really, for him, if he beats Kovalev properly, that's a legacy-defining fight for him, which I think he still needs. He still needs that name where it's completely cut and dry. I beat the guy, no question marks over it. So that's why I think he'll also come in and really look to make a good job of it, slow him down, and if he can get the stoppage, then great victory for him. So,
okay. Any more thoughts, lads, before we go to predictions?
Power, pace, movement, speed, wearing down.
Just quickly, since someone asked, does anyone want to give any quick thoughts on Ryan Garcia?
Really, great fight that'll be at the weekend. Got to watch that. Dono from the Philippines, kind of similar record, only lost one some time ago. Both heavy-handed, both full of action. Ryan Garcia, the new poster boy of boxing. And it's going to be a defining fight for both of them. Whoever goes on from there will really make big things. But
who commented on it? What was the user's name, Will?
Domo 5K.
Yeah, I was just because I've not seen any of Ryan Garcia, but we'll watch it. And tune in next week and we'll watch it and we'll talk through it properly. So
definitely.
I don't want to make a prediction. Well, I've not seen the guy fight, but I'll give it a watch. Jay said it'll be a good fight. So tune in next week and we'll go through that.
Absolutely. Okay then. Right, let's get it up then. Let's get the Boxing Talk podcast.
Here we are, Joe. We've got our first point.
Yeah, congratulations.
I missed last week, so
tough shit, Harry.
Maybe I should get half a point. Maybe I should get half a point.
Okay,
you should get a point deducted for watching Derby.
So congratulations to Jay and Phil. You two both predicted a Josh Taylor split decision. It was a majority decision, so pretty accurate. I think it's fair to both give you a point each, even though we will only look to give out 1 point a week. So that stands us at 2 for me and then 1 for you three. I did, however, ask for Derek Chisora and David Price prediction. I did. And a bit of a cheap one for me, but I'm afraid I did predict 6th round KO. Phil was 7, and Jay, I think Jay was having a laugh. So I also take a point this week, I'm afraid. So
you having that as a point?
Damn right. I asked last week as an official prediction. I think it's only fair. I did ask, and it is on the spreadsheet. I did ask. Fair. So that leaves us.
You need to put this spreadsheet on YouTube so we can see it all because
yeah, no one knows what's going on here.
Webb's doctored that spreadsheet. Will has.
Yeah, I've got on the sheet as well that you're all over a tenner as well.
Oh, that's convenient.
I can actually get the spreadsheet on. There is an option I can do it. I will look into doing it next week so you can all see it. So I do have comments on the side of people's intricate predictions. So I'll look into that so everyone can see it next week. So for this week, just the one fight I think we'll do the big one. Kovalev versus Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo, yeah.
Does anyone want to put the hat in the ring and go first? And I'll ask you to be as specific as possible.
Canelo points.
Yes. I love the enthusiasm. Canelo points for Mr. Lynch. Okay, hang on. Okay.
Look, mate, I know you
unanimous, Jay.
Yeah.
Phil.
I'm going to go for a Canelo TKO 11th round. Or TKO victory. I think he's going to stop him, actually.
Mr. Harry Darby Roberts.
It's a unanimous decision, Canelo.
Oh, they played it safe there, boys.
Yeah, what do you?
Oh, them scorecards are already filled out. So, look, if it's going to points, they're already filled out. So
this is exactly why it's going to be a Kovalev 9th round TKO. And you've heard it here first. You're going to see the legacy fall. You're going to see the Great Wall between Mexico and America fall. You're going to see the rejuvenated pound-for-pound Russian champ.
Will, what are you going to say next week when that doesn't happen?
I'm going to say that David Price didn't go to points. That's what I'll say next week. If it all goes wrong.
Hanging your hat on.
Yeah. Right, it's officially in then. So for the sake of time, if anyone wants something to talk about, chuck it in now. But if not, I'm happy to call it a night, fellas. Anyone wants to bring up any points before we go?
All good.
Been a pleasure. Thank you for everyone tuning in. We've had a lot of comments tonight, more than usual. So it's good that we're picking up pace on that. If everyone who's watched it tonight could share, tell a friend, come back next week, drop your comments, drop some abuse for Jay, whatever you like. It's all appreciated.
I think that Kovalev TKO prediction, you're the one getting shit next week, Will.
Will's scared of getting slagged off, so he's got to get ready.
Right, Jeff Shreves. Okay, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. See you later.
Cheers, boys. Thanks.